Hey there! Welcome back to another review, this time of the 2016 drama War Dogs. Now, this is a movie that, to be honest, I was interested in a little bit in the film by the trailer, but I was kind of leery of it because Todd Phillips directed it, and to be honest, he hasn't directed anything good since The Hangover, and it just looked like it was more of a comedy than than an actual based on a true story film. Now, by based on a true story, I mean it might as well put air quotes over it, like based on a true story, because it really isn't based on a real true story. Well, it kind of is, but it's very embellished. But I went into the film with absolutely no expectations whatsoever because I was a little bit curious about it, and wow, I was absolutely surprised that I was enthralled with the film. I liked the movie. I thought it was a good movie. Um, Maybe not a great film, but a good movie. Now, War Dogs is directed by Todd Phillips, the director of the Hangover movies. There's only one good Hangover movie. The other sequels are just shit. But, I enjoy the Hangover. I think the first film is great. Like I said, the sequels suck. So, it's nice to see him have a little bit of a return to form here. This is a good movie. I mean, the direction is good. He seems to be more in his wheelhouse. He's not doing another Hangover movie. Um, so it's nice to see him be able to do a little bit more and do some different stuff. It's based on a article in the Rolling Stone called Arms and the Dudes, which is based on these two real life men, David Packhouse and Ephraim DeVrioli. And what they did is they pretty much swindled the U.S. government to get an arms deal, an arms contract. Now, the movie embellished a lot of things. They never went through the Triangle of Death. That's actually more based on something that happened to one of the writers, Stephen Chin. And some of the other things and the other ways that the story plays out is much different than how it actually happens. But that's how it is a lot in most based on a true story films. So I'm not really that upset. I'm not angry or disappointed in the film because it embellished a few things. It doesn't. It says when a movie says based on a true story, and if you've seen enough films like this, you know when they say based on a true story that it means loosely based. Um, but I'd probably say this is probably more based on the true story than some of the other films that I've seen of this particular type, this true drama or this true crime type of movie. Now it stars Jonah Hill, who plays Ephraim DeVrioli, who is this total jerk off. He is just a piece of shit, but he's likable. He has a personality. He's charismatic, and his friend, who's played by Miles Teller, his friend David Packhouse, he even says in the movie, he says Ephraim's the type of guy who can become anybody you want him to be. And that really does sum up the character really well. I mean, Jonah Hill does a great job here. I think this is one of his best performances acting wise, right up there with his performance in True Story. And here he plays a true life douchebag who is so charismatic that you end up getting trapped in his web. Because honestly, he's the type of character who's so manipulative, who's so good at being a people person, that when you find out that he ultimately is not really this nice guy, you're kind of surprised. And it's only then when you find out the truth about him, when you end up putting the pieces together and like, well, wait a second. There were some signs that this guy was going to be a prick and turn on his friend before it happened. But I didn't notice it because he's such a charismatic person. So he also has like one of the most just irritating laughs you will ever hear. It's so bad. And Jonah, and I mean that in a good way because it's meant to be that way, and Jonah does a good job with it. It sounds something like this. Can you imagine just hearing that constantly? Oh, that's the laugh of a douchebag right there. Total douchebag laugh. So you have Jonah Hill and Miles Teller. Now, originally, the film actually was supposed to have Jesse Eisenberg and Shia LaBeouf. Yeah, I'm glad that didn't happen because I just cannot see that. To be honest, Miles Teller is a much better actor than Jesse Eisenberg, and Jonah Hill is a much better actor than Shia LaBeouf. Now, those are the two main characters, Ephraim and David. And Jonah Hill and Miles Teller, they work well with each other. They have good rapport with one another. And for a lot of reasons why I like the film is because I do like the dynamic between these two. I like watching these two work together. You also have Anna de Armas, who plays Miles Teller's character, David's girlfriend or wife. I think it's his wife, actually. He has a kid with her. Bradley Cooper from the Hangover films has a brief little role as Ralph Slutsky. Actually, that's Kevin Pollak's character. He plays Henry Gerard, who is this other arms dealer guy. Kevin Pollak plays Ralph Slutsky. It's really not a very good last name, if you ask me. Slutsky. He's a laundromat guy who ends up getting involved with Ephraim and David's whole enterprise and take some money on the side. Patrick St. Esprit plays Captain Phillips Santos. And there's a few other people. I mean, even David Packhouse himself actually is in the movie. He plays a singer at the Hilldale home. So he actually is in the movie in a little cameo role. But mainly it's Jonah Hill and Miles Teller's film. It's their movie. And the film came out in August of last year, and it made about $86 million on a $40 million budget. So it made not really, brief isn't the right word. It made a little bit of a profit, but it wasn't a huge hit. It was mixed with critics, and I guess I can kind of see why, but at the same time, most of the criticism I saw when people said this was bad is because it wasn't exactly like the Rolling Stone article, and that didn't bother me that much because I thought the changes that they did make didn't bug me. I thought the stuff with the circle of death, the triangle of death, not the circle of death, the triangle of death was fun, and the way that they kind of tied everything up at the end in ways that it wasn't actually that didn't actually happen in real life, I was okay with because it actually worked well for the story that the film was trying to tell. This is much better than something like Masterminds, which is also based on a true story. This is miles better, a million times better than something like that. And it's pretty straightforward. It just deals with David Packhouse, Miles Teller. He lives in Miami, Florida. He's working as a massage therapist, living with his girlfriend. Okay, not his wife. His girlfriend is. He wants a new source of income that will make him more money. So he ends up spending his life savings on these Egyptian cotton sheets. He's trying to sell them to retirement homes, but this venture fails to produce results. Then he meets his old friend, Ephraim DeVrioli, at a funeral for a friend of his, and he ends up working with him. Ephraim has formed his own company called AEY, which fills orders for arms placed by the U.S. government due to the ongoing war in Iraq. And what they do is they make their money off of these little contracts, these just kind of the scraps, so to speak. And they ultimately get the nickname War Dogs because they go in and they take these scraps, and that's how he makes the money. So Ephraim offers David a job at AEY. Even though David and Iz oppose the war, David eventually agrees, telling his girlfriend that he's selling his cotton sheets to the U.S. government through Ephraim's contacts. So he lies to her. And of course, that's the whole sort of liar revealed plot that shows up later in the movie. Which I know is a cliche, but it didn't bother me that much. in this movie. So Ephraim explains to David that all orders placed for military equipment are posted on a public website. So that's what I'm saying. Anyone can place bids on filling the orders, and their job is to find the small orders that larger contractors do not bother with and place bids on them. And these smaller orders still being worth millions of dollars. So they still make millions of dollars being war dogs. So Ralph Slutsky, Kevin Pollak gets involved. He assists the business with funding under the false belief that AEY only sells arms to protect Israel. And they land a contract to provide several thousand Beretta pistols to U.S. troops stationed in Baghdad. But then there's a problem because there's an embargo in Italy that blocks the shipment to Iraq. So Ephraim attempts to route the shipment through Jordan, but it gets held up there as well. So that's where they decide to go through the Triangle of Death and ship the Berettas themselves, which is a fun scene. And after they manage to do that and get the shipment of Berettas to Captain Santos and risk their life and limb in what seems like something straight out of the movie Ishtar, to be honest. And after they get that done, they secure larger deals and make even more money. They move into a large office. They hire more employees. David has a daughter named Ella. Ephraim continues to get more unstable and more money and power hungry and untrustworthy. And he is also now given the opportunity to land their biggest deal yet, known as the Afghan deal. And the U.S. government wants to arm the Afghan military for the long term, and they're trying to get 100 million rounds of AK-47 ammunition. And this could net the war dogs a $100 million profit. So filing the order seems to be an impossible task for this small company because there's all of these problems and there's a shortage on AK-47 ammunition all across the world. But they end up looking into an encounter with arms dealer Henry Girard. They tried to go in beforehand and go to Vegas and try to, schmooze around and try to get these bigger military contract guys to work with them, but they are totally out of their league, the war dogs. So they ultimately go with this guy, Henry Girard, played by Bradley Cooper, and he's this kind of shady guy. He then tells them that he's pretty much been banned. He's on the terrorist watch list. So that, which is really messed up. And David, of course, is expressing his discomfort working with this guy. That he's talking about these Albanian ammunition, AK-47 rounds. They place a bid on the contract that ends up being $50 million less than any other bid. So the U.S. government takes it because they lowballed them. And they go in and try to, get the Albanian deal done. Well, then they find out that the bullets are... There's like one box that was actually genuine AK-47 rounds that weren't like cheap Chinese rounds. So they showed them this one box that had the right rounds, and then all the other crates that they thought had all these legitimate rounds, they're all full of Chinese rounds, and that's illegal. So they can't ship that to the U.S. government. They can't do that. And Ephraim comes up with this idea. Actually, David does. Well, Ephraim is back in L.A. just enjoying the high life, and he sent David over to Albania to basically figure all this out. And before they left, David set up a contract so we can get his cut of the U.S. contract deal for the AK-47 rounds. Well, David is the one that comes up with the idea that he's going to, all right, what we'll do is we'll put the rounds in bags and we'll ship them in boxes because they can't ship the rounds in these Chinese labeled boxes. They can't do it. It's illegal. So they break the rules. They hire some guy who works at a factory to come in and pack more of the rounds, and they're going to pay him, but Ephraim fucks up and doesn't pay him, and ultimately that leads to what ends up one of the reasons why they got caught. And that's a Hollywoodized version of it. The reason why these two got caught is because they just completely forgot that, if they email illegal shady shit, the government and the FBI and the police, they can find it. So it kind of just ties things up a little bit better, I guess, if it was like the warehouse guy that they didn't pay him the money. And I was like, but at the same time, when I found out what the real reason why is, I'm like, I don't really see why. Because I know I said earlier, it doesn't bother me that much, and it really doesn't. But if I had to pick between these two, I'd be like, hey, it probably would be better if we just had the actual arms deal thing going on. Not the arms deal. I mean, let's have the actual reason why these two got caught for being dumbasses and like sending classified information and all this stuff, illegal shit that they're doing through the emails. That's actually pretty funny. So ultimately, there's some drama and stuff with AEY and with David and his girlfriend Is. She thinks he's getting distant from her and tells her the truth about what's going on, about the money, where's the money coming from, and all of this, and she leaves him. And then David does the whole thing in Albania, almost gets killed because Gerard grabs him and holds him at gunpoint, leaves him alive, kills the Albanian driver, and then he leaves Albania. He comes back to Miami. David says he wants out of AEY, demands a payoff from Ephraim for $4 million for the work he had done, but the contract that was there when David left, that was there in his office, is now missing. And that just shows you how much of a douchebag his so-called friend Ephraim was. And that completely doesn't work because Ephraim refuses. There's no contract. I'm not going to give you the money. There's no contract. And so David returns to working as a massage therapist. He convinces Iz to move back in with him, tells her the truth about everything. Weeks later, Ephraim shows up, offers a severance package of $200,000 to David, which David responds to him by threatening to blackmail him with the evidence that he has, that they falsified documentation to even be able to be qualified to get the government deal. And Ephraim's like, well, if I go down, you go down. So it's that kind of thing. So ultimately, then he tries to bring in Ralph Seletsky in to try to get him to convince, to take the severance deal, the $200,000. But David's like, fuck that, no. And Ephraim just shows his true nature there, just a total asshole about it. And then there's this great scene before they get arrested, where David is going in. I think he goes up to an apartment or something to go talk to Ephraim. And he meets him in the elevator. And they have this moment with one another. And this is the moment where the light bulb goes off, where the revelation occurs. And it actually happened beforehand. But I just like the way that this is set up. Where these two so-called best friends, they both end up telling the truth to one another. And David starts asking Ephraim questions about, Scarface, and, because he was talking about Scarface is one of the favorite movies, and, did you just mention Scarface and stuff like that? They start striking up a conversation, and Ephraim actually starts mentioning Scarface is on TV, and it reminded me of what, when we were bros, when we were in high school, when we were back, younger, when we were kids and we watched Scarface, remind me of the good old days. And David then starts asking Ephraim, cold hard questions, and he's like, "You're a liar. You're lying to me. Just tell me the truth, Ephraim. Were you ever really my friend?" And then Ephraim admits, "No, I wasn't. And Scarface wasn't on last night either." And it's just one of those, like, I didn't really... It's shown better in the film than I'm showing you here, because I don't have the exact lines of dialogue down. But it's a scene I really did like because it's just like one of those moments where it's just like, wow. The bombshell's been dropped. He never was his friend. He was bullshitting him the whole way. He was using him the entire time. All these years, Ephraim was just using David. So now they get arrested. The FBI, and before when they had the whole thing, the meeting with Slutsky, well, Slutsky actually had a wire on. So that gives them enough evidence to make an arrest on the two. They get arrested. Ephraim is sentenced to 4 years in prison for charges related to the Afghan deal. David gets seven months house arrest in exchange for cooperating with the investigation. David meets with Henry, apologizes for the kidnapping and assault in Albania, claiming that he had bad information. He also thanks David for not mentioning his name in a confession to the FBI. David begins to ask questions about the events of the deal, including about the fate of his Albanian driver. Henry pulls out a suitcase full of money, a part of his cut from the Afghan deal, offers it to David in exchange for dropping the subject. And the movie ends, and David's choice of taking the money is left ambiguous. Did he take it? Did he not? At this point, I'd be like, would you take it? I don't know. Would I take it? If I was in his situation, would I take it? This isn't traceable. But it's blood money in a way, so I probably wouldn't take it. As much as I would want to, I wouldn't take it because it's blood money. I don't want blood money. Now, so yeah, that's War Dogs. Now, I thought it was a intriguing, interesting film, even though had a pretty long pace to it. I thought it was like 114 minutes, but I thought it went by at a pretty decent pace, pretty quick pace. Kept my interest throughout. Good performances by the cast. Probably the best direction I've seen from Todd Phillips. Even better than The Hangover. Because there's also some really nice cinematography by Lawrence Sher as well. Especially the scene where David and Ephraim they're in front of a car, they're in a car, and in the reflection of the windshield is an American flag. That image always stuck with me ever since I saw the film. I thought it was a really great image. And so, yeah, I mean, so good cinematography. It's edited well. The score, it's not really much by Cliff Martinez, but the music choices in this, the song choices are fantastic. I love the classic rock and classic, songs they use in this film soundtrack. You got Behind Blue Eyes by The Who, which is used really well to brilliant usage. I mean, it's just brilliantly used in this movie, in my opinion. Works really well with a certain scene. It's pretty much the scene that kind of just shows you, okay, now it's now revealed that, Ephraim has been this asshole all along, this manipulative scumbag. And you also have We Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. And the movie ends with, during the end credits, it ends with Leonard Cohen's song, which I thought called Everybody Knows. Everybody knows the best get beat. Everybody knows. Do 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 do. Everybody knows. I just thought that was a great song choice, and it really fit the film perfectly. It fit the film really well, and yeah, and Leonard Cohen, I think he passed away in 2016 as well, so it was a nice little goodbye to him as well. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about War Dogs, except if I was going to rate it out of 5 stars, I'd give the movie 4 out of 5. I liked it a lot. I mean, the only problems I had with it are I didn't really like the transitions. There were transitions in the film that had like quotes from scenes that would happen later, and I just thought it was kind of weird. Like I said, it was pretty well paced, but there were some moments where it kind of dragged a bit. Also, I really would have liked to have even more of the real life stuff between these two guys actually on screen. I would actually like to have had the email stuff thrown in there instead of the guy who worked at the warehouse, He never got paid, so he called the police, and that's why they got caught, or they got tipped off. If they just paid him, then nobody would have gotten caught, and they would have gotten away with it. I'm like, that's just too perfect, and that's just too Hollywoodized, and I'm just like, eh. But it doesn't bother me too much because I still really enjoy the film, and I absolutely want to pick this up on DVD or Blu-ray when it comes out. I mean, it's already come out. I actually want to pick it up sometime, but not. I probably won't pay really, a really high price for it. But when the price goes down and I can get it for like a few bucks, sure. But it's definitely I would probably say one of my favorite films from last year. One of the better based on a true story of films that I've seen in a while. So if the film interested you from the trailer, I would recommend giving it a look. If you thought it was a comedy, and I'm going to say this, you're going to be disappointed if you're expecting a comedy. It's not a comedy. It's a drama. If you go into this expecting a drama, I think you're going to enjoy it more than you would if you expected a comedy. And I got to say that's one mistake the film definitely did with its advertising. Advertising the movie as a comedy. It's not a comedy. It's a drama. Absolutely 100% a drama. There's some funny moments here and there, but it's a drama. But anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you guys later. See ya.